Hey poetry lovers, welcome to MASH, a beer and poem pairing. I'm Marj, committed to making poetry hospitable for everyone. I'm sitting here in Horse and Dragon Brewing Company in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I'll be pairing their Maracuyá Passion Fruit IPA with two poems. First of all, Maracuyá is the Colombian Spanish word for passion fruit, and the owners of Horse and Dragon, Tim and Carol, lived in Colombia for 3 years. But Brazil is the country that produces the most passion fruit. So I'll be first reading In Brazil by Tracy K. Smith, who is our current U.S. Poet Laureate. In Brazil for Adélia Prado. Poets swagger up and down the shore, I'll bet, wagging their hips in time to the raucous tide. They tip back their heads and life sears a path down the throat. At night they dance, don't they, across tiles that might as well be glass or ice. And if they don't want to spend the evening alone, they don't. And if they want to wear snow angels into the sheets of some big empty bed, that's what they do. Until a dark form takes shape on the ceiling overhead. Then they put on a robe and kick around looking for some slippers. When the poem finally arrives, it grins and watches back with wide, credulous eyes. That's In Brazil by Tracy K. Smith from her book Duende, published in 2007 by Grey Wolf Press. Tracy K. Smith dedicated In Brazil to Brazilian poet Adélia Prado. So the second poem I'll be pairing the Maracuyá Passion Fruit IPA with is Adélia Prado's The Mystical Rose. You should know that the Roman Catholic priests in the late 1500s named the passion fruit such because its sepals and petals and rays symbolized features of the passion, the suffering and death of Jesus Christ. And Adélia Prado believed that poetry is a sacred act, so much so that you'll hear in this poem that she believes that it has the power to resurrect her father. The Mystical Rose by Adélia Prado. The first time I became conscious of form, I said to my mother, Dona Armanda has a basket in her kitchen where she keeps tomatoes and onions, and began fretting that even lovely things eventually spoil. Until one day I wrote, it was here in this room that my father died, here that he wound the clock and rested his elbows on what he thought was the windowsill, but was the threshold of death. I understood that words grouped like that made it possible to live without the things they describe, that my father was returning indestructible. It was as if someone had painted a picture of Dona Armanda's basket and said, now you can eat the fruit. So there is order in the world. Where does it come from? And why does order, which is joy itself, and bathes in a different light, make the soul sad? We must protect the world from time's corrosion, cheat time itself. And so I kept writing. My father died in this room. Night, you can come on down. Your blackness can't erase this memory. That was my first poem. The Mystical Rose by Adélia Prado, from The Mystical Rose Selected Poems, translated from the Brazilian Portuguese by Ellen Doré Watson, published in 2014 by Blood Axe Books, paired with, along with Tracy K. Smith's In Brazil, with Horse and Dragon Brewing Company's Maracuyá Passion Fruit IPA. This is really fruity, y'all. Thanks for listening.